Welcome back for a fourth time, Chrissy.
Fifth or fourth?
Is it the fifth?
I don't know.
No,
Probably the fourth.
it's the fourth. You did the one on your own. That was like how we met,
Yeah,
and then you did the Ohio girls one,
I made friends.
and you did make friends, and then you did the one solo last time, like a year and a half ago.
Probably about a year.
It was like January of 22.
That's the last time.
Yeah,
Are you sure?
I'm very sure.
Lies. I think that's cap.
Well, I wasn't on here for a little bit. I took a break, remember?
Oh yeah.
So there was like 9 months where I didn't put out anything. So, but I'm glad you're back on because a lot's changed.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about it.
Well, I mean for you, right?
Oh yeah. Duh. It was a lot. It is a lot.
You want to get into it?
A lot of good shit. I'm married, which is funny if you look at my memories that pop up that are like me never fucking getting married again, me never having another fucking kid in my life.
Shit changes.
Yeah, I have a
How,
new dog.
you have a new dog?
I have a dog. He's not new, but he's a dog.
What kind of dog is it?
He's a German Shepherd.
Oh yeah. What's his name?
Dax.
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 That's awesome.
He's awesome, yeah. So
Usually golden they're nice dogs, German shepherds.
yeah, my bud.
So how's your recovery been?
It's been I was boozing a little bit, nothing major, but I just like woke up one day in June like I'm never fucking drinking again. For real, never drinking again. Like what is it bringing me? Like it wasn't like negatively impacting anything in my life except like dumb shit. Like I'd wake up like why do I have Snapchat premium for a year? Like financial choices.
I mean, it's still like something that you need to take inventory of that you did is you spent money haphazardly when you would drink. You were hurting your purse every time you drank. Um, so have you been able to stick to that since June?
Yeah.
So you're coming up on then 4 months.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it. I have a lot more energy all the time. I love that for me. I
Yep.
know like how good it feels to have like a clear mind and not be like recovering all the time.
So what made you go out and drink again?
Nothing really. I mean, just something I've been doing
Well,
since I was like 10.
well, yeah, I mean, but you didn't have a reason to like being like, I want to drink again.
Not really.
You just woke up one day
Yeah.
and you were like, all right, I'm having a drink.
Yeah.
What was it? Wine?
Wine, tequila, whatever.
No, what did you buy first that you went out on? Because like me, I'm embarrassed. Like when I started drinking again, when I was clean and sober, I started drinking again at 13 months, and you know what I started drinking with again?
What?
Twisted tea.
Ooh. I
That's
get it.
how I relapsed was twisted tea. So
Yeah.
what did you relapse with? Was it the wine?
Probably, yeah, the wine. My husband, he drinks often, like maybe once a week.
It's not all. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like he likes wine. He liked wine a lot. So I would drink and then, you know, just every now and then. But that wasn't, I started gaining weight. So I'm like, I got to quit drinking. Well, my drug of choice, like Adderall, it helps me focus like one area of my life and that's it. The rest of them go to shit.
Yep.
To function in society, my brain, I have to like be normal. So, like, going to work and stuff, Adderall was great, but, like, mentally, I guess I just, like, got through a point of healing, like, in therapy, like, doing work where I have other tools. So I think we talked about this where, like, triggers or trauma responses I have don't really exist. So the Adderall helped me when I was, like, going through all that because I was having all those symptoms, but I don't anymore. So it kind of did the opposite for me, and like kind of just made my life in shambles. So I did that for about 4 or 5 months.
The Adderall?
Yeah. And so that, like, I think that contributed to the drinking.
Yeah, like drinking on Adderall.
Drinking on Adderall, that's my thing, man. That used to be.
How does it, are you still taking Adderall?
No. No, I can't, like, I can't function. Like, I have to, it's like a gateway drug for me.
Yeah. Well, you said, because I know it's your fourth time on here, but I haven't been on in a while, so I have a bunch of new people that are watching. So, do you want to tell some of your story?
Yeah, where do I start? I've forgotten it.
Well, okay, you just told me you've been drinking since you were 10.
Yeah, since I was 10.
So, did anything happen like when you were a kid that like made
Yeah.
you up to? Go ahead.
So from a young age, like 2, 3, 4, I can't really remember, I was molested. And then when I was 10, I was actually raped. And that's kind of when, like, my mom's life was falling apart. She was getting a divorce. And I don't know, she was going through her own mental health issues. My dad was buying alcohol for my friends and I on the weekends. And so it was like, how I learned to cope. I was talking to my therapist actually because I am 2 months nicotine free.
Congrats.
Thanks. Yay. I feel silly.
I'm still trying to quit smoking. I'm taking Shantix and I'm chewing Nicorette gum. I'm doing all this stuff to try to quit smoking. So that's
Hard as hell.
Yeah.
It is. So yeah, and I was telling my therapist, like, I'm like, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm like very sad. I'm like not drinking, not having nicotine, not, I'm actually really in a great place in life mentally. And we were kind of talking about how I used alcohol or nicotine for a need that I had from a young age. So it is hard to let it go. I do cry about it a little bit. So growing up, I, was on house arrest, making poor choices.
Well, can I ask, do you know who did it? And you
Did
were
what?
Raped you.
Yes, I do.
Like, did you know this person and have trust in this person before it happened?
When I was 10, no, I didn't. I knew him. He was my mom's friend's son. So I was 10 and he was 15. So, the other person, yes, I did know. What? I'm sorry.
He was old enough to know what he was doing.
I feel like it.
Like at 15, you know what you're doing.
I feel like you know that it's wrong. If it feels wrong for me and I don't really know what's going on, like what is going on, what is going on, if I feel like it's wrong, I feel like you know that it's wrong.
And that makes somebody have to grow up way faster than they're supposed to. Like,
yeah. Unfortunately, I had a lot of like trauma responses that looked like somebody who was in trouble, just willy-nilly, like what they would call fast. So when you're violated at a young age, sometimes for me, when I spoke about it when I was 3, a social worker got involved and my mom thought it was a malicious report and she was very angry. My response was, oh my God, I've pissed her off by saying any of this. I better not say anything about this ever again, which makes you vulnerable growing up thinking that, what happens to your body is your fault and you kind of don't really have anyone to tell. Although I did have something happen when I was 7 and I told an aunt who I trusted and she kind of was like, oh, that's not really what happened.
what was that?
So my grandfather like gave me a kiss, but he stuck his tongue in my mouth. And I was like, that made me feel weird or what have you. And my aunt was kind of like, well, maybe he's drunk. Or maybe he thought you were my grandmother, that I was my grandmother. And so I kind of learned it wasn't safe to go to people about things that made me uncomfortable, which then you fall into situations where it's like to get it over with really quick, the easiest way you can.
And at 10, you discover alcohol because your dad's being the cool dad. And you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather you do it in the house. And the first time you drink, you probably feel like, oh, this makes everything so much better in my head.
Yeah, it was a good coping skill. Um, it was, yeah, my dad, he didn't really have any parenting skills, so that was the fine thing to do. But
Was
so
he, is he a young dad?
he had me. I think he was 27 or 28 when he had me, so not too young.
Not too young. No, I was about to say, that's not too young. My dad was 23, and I didn't think that was too young for the time. Um,
No,
so, because you are 30.
3 almost. I'll be 33 in November. I'm 32.
Okay. All right. So we grew up almost around the same time in the 90s. When you were 10, it was what year? 90.
2000.
It was 2000. Maybe we didn't grow up in the same. But 2000, it's still a young enough age to where like social media is not out there, so you don't ever hear of these stories, and you don't know that it's normal. But not that it's normal, it's that you're not the only one. Is probably a better way of putting that. And it's almost like you would have been better off with your face in front of TikTok and learning real fast that you're not alone, because you wouldn't have amassed. How many people follow you there?
On TikTok?
Yeah,
About 90,000.
90,000.
Yeah.
So like you wouldn't be able to reach 90,000. Like, it's not easy to. I have like 2,000. It's not easy. Although I do have a page that has 603,000 followers. So I have that going for me at least.
Yeah.
I'm hardly on that page too. I'm on that page like once a month, and I just clear the notifications because there's so many, and don't even look at anything. That was mostly, I started that page to make my dad laugh because he was sick, so I would always send him funny videos that I was posting. And while I was posting these videos, the following just got crazy, and now it's 603,000. But ever since my dad passed away, I can't text them these funny videos anymore.
Yeah.
So like I haven't been on because I don't have like my audience. Like, I have a ton of audiences there, but not the main person I was trying to make laugh. So I haven't been on it at all. And I'm glad I'm back doing this show again, because I can concentrate on something in my recovery and doing something positive in my recovery. So you start drinking at 10 on the weekends. Were you doing anything else yet, or just drinking?
I was doing whatever. Like there was cocaine, I would do that, or
At 10?
I was probably 12 or 11 or 12, probably 12 by the time I was actually like doing cocaine. There was a lot of like hypersexuality that encompassed my whole adolescence.
So if you're 12 and you're getting, that's not even a coke isn't even a drug that high schoolers usually can get. So unless they have an older brother or sister.
Yeah.
Like, how were you getting coke at 12?
So there was a high schooler, and he's deceased now, but he was actually 20 or 21. He was like a super senior, is what you call him. He was the first person I remember doing cocaine with. And then, of course, I had some other friends that ran around with some people on the east side, and I would be like having relations with these people that were older than me, like 18, 19, like older than me.
Just, yeah, so I was right. There was no high schooler that had coke. It was a 21-year-old high schooler. So that's
Yeah, I
exactly.
actually got my first tattoo with him and his sister.
Matching?
No, hers was on her stomach, mine's on my back, in somebody's house, and it was in like a room, like a lower room. And he told me, he's like, I just snorted an 8-ball. Is that fine? And I'm like, considering I don't know what the fucking 8-ball is, I think we'll be all right here.
You're like, cool.
And I was 13 when that happened, yeah. So, and that's the first person I did cocaine with, that guy. He was my friend's brother, yeah.
Okay, so I was right. It would have to be a friend with an older brother.
Yeah. That's what happened. That's what happened.
I've talked to enough people by now, Krissi, that I can almost like I think I've had 125 different interviews or something like that.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's less than that considering you're the same person all the time. But all right, so now you're 12 and you're doing coke. How's your schoolwork affected?
I was actually not doing well in school, but I was in like advanced classes up until about 5th grade. When my mom got a divorce, that's when like life got really hard, and she was letting people around who I got hurt. And then my schoolwork is not good. I was suspended for buying marijuana at one point, and then during my suspension
anymore?
Huh?
You can't do that anymore?
You can't? No. No. I thought I was good at it, honestly. First time.
Everyone does.
I got snitched on, but that's another story.
Wait, you got what on?
I got snitched on for buying marijuana.
By who? Somebody you're like friends with? Like,
no, a girl in a grade below me. She took her dad's MP, like military police position, to a whole nother level. I'm not mad at her though, obviously.
So you get in trouble for selling bud at school. You're suspended now?
Yeah, and on the last day of suspension. Well, so when I would get in trouble, I would call my dad, because when my dad made it a point to move in the house across the street from my mom, which is kind of how it was easy to get the alcohol, because my mom would be my stepdad now, who she's married to, she was dating him and would go to another city on the weekends. My dad would fill the house up with booze and whatever. So anyway, so I would call my dad and I'm like, hey, I'm suspended. So my mom didn't really know this time. The last night of my suspension, my friend, who's also deceased now, she's like, let's steal a car. My friend Jack will peel the column. I've done this like 3 times this week. So I'm like, okay, girl. So we get this Buick Regal, and we went down Hirschman. We go to the gas station to steal gas, and we don't know that the gas is under the license plate. The nozzle. So we're like trying to figure out who to call on our Nokia. I think we ended up calling.
And how old are you at this time?
12.
12, and you're stealing a car and you're trying to steal gasoline. So let's just rewind. You're 12 years old. I'm going to set the stage. You're 12 years old. You and your friend are like, let's go steal a car. And then you steal said car. Unfortunately, you steal an older car, which means you're 12. You wouldn't even know where to put the gas at to begin with.
We didn't.
Let alone underneath the license. That's like the hidden spot that's underneath the light. That's the age of the car. That was not a new car if it was in the license plate, Krissi.
No.
Like, that's a 70s car. Like, that's an old ass car that you were stealing.
Yep.
At 12 years old, nonetheless.
I was 13, I think, because she was 15.
Oh, why didn't you say so? You were 13. Never.
Yeah. We knew what we were doing. We ended up getting a hold of someone who told us how to steal gas. Where to put the gas we were going to steal. We did get pulled over like shortly after that. And my friend looks at me, she goes, run. I was like, I've got my flip-flops on, like my old Navy flip-flops. I cannot run, girl. So the officer's like, how old are you? She's like, 4 foot nothing. She's like, I'm 16. Like, no, you're not. I wasn't lying. I wasn't doing any of that. But it's really crazy because I think it was her. I ended up talking to someone who was like, don't tell these people anything. Don't tell them that you smoke weed. Don't tell them that you drink. Don't tell them anything. So, because, they're doing intake assessments. They're like, they're going to make you do all these programs. So, I mean, there was resources out there, but it was like my home life didn't add up to, like, I don't know, paying consequences and all that stuff. Like, anyways, I had them call my dad. The next day at court, my mom shows up and she's like, "Can I just take her to school?" And they're like, "Ma'am, she is suspended on top of everything." And I'm like, "Nuh-uh, Mom, it's that other girl." So they put me on probation, but my mom was just going through so much because, they're telling us I can't hang out with my friend. Her name's Heather. We're not to be around each other. And, my mom's taking all this serious. She's pissed. But then, like, Heather needs a ride to her boyfriend's. So my mom's like, "Get in the car." It was just not, that's all I can say.
Not consistent.
It was just, and I knew I was 13 because we ended up moving that year to a different city where I ended up graduating my freshman year, and moving in the middle of my freshman year was traumatic. But when we
you changed schools now, and you knew everybody in this school to the point where you were 13 hanging out with 15-year-olds, you were 12 doing coke with 20-year-olds. So obviously you've had connections. So of course you're not going to want to leave your little safe haven of a place, but your rebellious attitude. So I have a feeling when you went into your new school, you didn't take that. So how did it go when you moved?
It was a mess.
Yep.
Everyone hated me. Again, like, I did, like, one of my good friends, she took me under her wing, but she's 2 grades above me, and all her friends became my friends. It was just I still do to this day feel out of place and, like, very disconnected from everybody.
From everybody back then from that area?
Like, how you, like, grow up with the same group of people all your life?
Yeah.
Well, I did, but then I moved, and then I went to school with these people who had grown up with each other all their lives. So, they're still friends, and I still have a lot of friends, and I do have a lot of, like, great connections from school and people like that. Like, we still care about each other, but it was very, like, a displaced feeling. Very traumatic to move.
Now, who moved, your mom or your dad?
My mom. She got married. That's when I got the tattoo on my back. When I was 13, she got married to my stepdad, and then we moved to another city.
Tattoo of?
It's a Chinese symbol for love, actually. I tell people it means harder. So I'm surprised I probably have told you that before, actually.
No, I never knew you had it. I mean, and I'm tattooed all over, so I never knew about your love tattoo. Have you looked it up to make sure it says love, really?
No, but my sister had it on her back. That's why I thought it would be a good idea.
Yeah.
She's gotten it covered up since.
So now you move to this new school, you make friends with older girls again, because kids your age just don't understand it. Like, and I'm serious, kids don't understand at your age what the shit you've been through, and what you're used to is partying all the time. So now you got to meet all these new people so that the party can continue.
Right.
Did you make friends with people that had older brothers or sisters?
No, I just made friends that were older who had older friends than that.
So were you still doing drugs?
Yeah, I probably was. I don't really remember. Like, it's kind of a blur. School and everything was, like, kind of a blur right now, like, looking back.
Were you drinking during school?
Not like at school, but I
Yeah.
was smoking a lot. Like, when I met my friend, she was walking, or I was walking, and she's like, "Hey girl, you're too cute to be walking in the rain. Do you need a ride?"
This podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp. If you are looking for therapy and not able to get something right away locally, you can do that with them. Within 48 hours, you can find a therapist to get on telehealth with you. I mean, I haven't heard anything but great things from people that have already done it, that watch my show or listen to my show. If you're looking to get 10% off your first month, you can go to betterhelp.com/MJSPNPMCA. That is betterhelp.com/MJSPNPMCA.
And so we've been friends ever since. But I was smoking. I had a boyfriend. Like I quit cheerleading. I quit doing anything. I was just out of place. And everyone, because of the school I came from, called me trashy and like.
Yeah, I understand how that feels. I went to the same school until I was in 8th grade and knew all these people and had all these friendships since 1st grade. And then my mom convinced me to try Catholic school. Her sister went, her brother went, my dad's sister went, all to this school. And I'm like, whatever, I'll try something new. And then I got there and I was like the poor kid there because I came from Mount Ephraim and not from one of these rich towns like Voorhees or something like that. And all of them are getting bussed in, and I lived close to the school that like I wasn't on the buses forming any kind of friendships, because sometimes the bus is where you make friends. So you're sitting together before and after school. Like I wasn't in on the bus trips because I lived so close to the school. And every time I went to like a party freshman year, because I just like you, I found the parties. And so I would go to parties, and they would be at these huge fucking mansions. And I was just like, I'm used to drinking in the woods. You know what I mean? Like, this is not, who am I right now? This is not who I'm supposed to be. I need to get back to my roots. And after 1 year, I went back to public school where I belonged. Yeah, because I was not that I wasn't happy, it's just that I wasn't living high school. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't going to enjoy high school as much. Cause at least like where I grew up, you walked to school. Everybody was walking to school. So all you do is just walk with a group of people that you knew. You would meet up and they'd walk together. And next thing you know, a bunch of us are driving and you all drive together. And you build those friendships more. I never would have had that if I would have stayed at that school. So, and plus I didn't go to college anyway, so it's not like that school was going to do me any favors. Like I went to college for 1.5 years, and then I was like, all right, I'm done, and haven't finished it since. If it was free, I would probably go, but it's just expensive.
It is. Another stress.
Did you graduate high school?
I did. I graduated high school.
Okay.
2009.
2009. Yeah, I'm 2005. So you wouldn't have even been a freshman when I was a senior. We would not have met. You would have been. My brother graduated in 2008, and he was a freshman when I was a senior. You would have been in 8th grade when I was a senior.
I think I started school in 2005. West Carrollton.
Yeah, and I was gone by then.
Oh, because you had already graduated. Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah. Girl math.
So that's funny, but now look at us, friends. So going into your 20s, and you didn't go to school, you said. What was it like for you when you could find? How long did it take you to move out on your own?
Oh, 2 months before I graduated high school, I left my mom a note and went to New York with my boyfriend, who, well, he graduated a year before me and went to the Army. So when I was graduating, or before I did, I left my mom a note and told her I was going to New York, and I got married. So in June, after I graduated, I moved to New York with my ex-husband, my first husband.
How long did that marriage last?
Almost 10 years. About 10 years.
10 years.
Hmm.
That now were you weren't sober during these 10 years?
No. No.
You're like, no.
Well, when I started getting sober, it was in my I was like 23, 24 when I noticed like, okay, like what am I doing with my life? I graduated college in 2014.
Did you go
But
to college?
yeah,
Did you go locally or online?
locally here
And
in
you
Dayton.
associates or a bachelor's?
Associates in criminal justice.
Oh, okay. So you moved to New York and you're 18 now, married to a 19-year-old. How do you get liquor? Does the party stop for a little bit?
Oh no, we were able to buy beer. I think he had friends. That's like, and I made friends, and I actually knew a girl from West Carrollton where I met my first husband, where I went to school, where I graduated. And so she and I were upstate together in New York, and we would find Bud, and she actually was like older than me, so she could buy a beer.
Yeah. So the party kept going. Were you doing any coke again yet or no?
No, I think like 2009 was like the last time I did like No, it wasn't. Never mind. So I was doing a lot of Xanax. I had met a friend from Albuquerque. She had prescription drugs that I like to dabble in. Oh oh, hold on, wait. So I made some friends in my apartment complex, and that's when I started like learning how to dance salsa, and but we were into ecstasy and Molly. So that's what I was doing then. That's why I can't remember, because I've literally eaten a hole in my brain probably.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And earlier, I guessed ecstasy as one of your first drugs, but I knew it was in your story at one point. Like I had a feeling it was in your. So now it's like 2010, 2011, and you're doing Molly and ecstasy, and you're drinking because they're old enough to have liquor in the house.
Oh
So
yeah.
you know what I mean? You're partying with them. Is your husband like doing some kind of military thing, or is he home during all this?
No, so 2009 to 2010 was our first year of marriage in New York, and then he went to Afghanistan. When he went to Afghanistan for that year, I moved back to Ohio, and that's when I started working at a Mexican restaurant where I worked forever after that. And I was still doing, that's actually when I stopped doing like downers, Xanax, because in New York, I had like somebody had offered me like to snort their heroin, but they weren't really trying to share. And I wasn't a downer person, so I kind of knew I was out of it. So when I moved back to Ohio, I was working at this Mexican restaurant and I was on downers, probably Xanax, and I was in the bathroom crying. And this girl I worked with came in and she's like, "You have got to stop crying. Like, here, take this." And then she gave me cocaine, and that's when I was like, okay, I like uppers. Um, so I had that job pretty much just to pay for like whatever I wanted to do while my husband at the time was in Afghanistan.
And who are you living with?
Myself.
Oh, okay, you moved back to live by yourself while you were okay,
Mhm.
and you're partying, working at this. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the same Mexican restaurant that
Yeah.
I'm thinking it is?
Yeah. It's the same one.
Now,
So,
were you working there while you were still married?
yeah,
Like, okay.
I worked there. And
So,
then my hmm,
no, so when did your husband come back? How long was he deployed for?
a year. So he came back in 2011. I moved back to New York with him in 2011. And we just struggled to reconnect. We had a lot of trust issues. Like that's why I married him, so he would like be good to me. Obviously, he had a lot of trust issues with me as well. Um, we just we tried to make it work. So around this time, like September 2011, I had a miscarriage that really like sent me back mentally, and I felt like my ex-husband just wasn't supportive, and he wasn't. I was like, I would tell him like, I just want to die, I want to kill myself, and he'd be like, okay, me too, so what? Like, so it was just very volatile between us. Like, there was domestic violence, like police were called. I, of course, was out drinking, I was cheating on him, I was sleeping around. I actually met a different guy. Oh my God, it's so crazy. I met a different guy who I was in love with before I got pregnant with my daughter.
And are you not sure still to this day?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. It was just very toxic, the whole situation. Like, and this story is crazy. So I want to tell it because like when my ex-husband and I got in a fist fight one night, um, I actually hit him and he was on top of me trying to like get me to stop hitting him, and he was bleeding on me. And it's New York, and the like snow is like up to our windows, the top of our windows, and I'm opening the window trying to, like, we were drunk. We were drinking. And the police like run in our house and they're trying to arrest him, and because of the blood that's all over me. And I'm like, well, that's his blood, and they just sent me to a friend's house. Like, times are wild now. Like, I don't know.
And didn't arrest him even though it like.
They wanted to.
Oh, did they want to?
Yeah, and I was like, no, I hit him, and it's his blood that's on me. So they're like, okay, we're not gonna arrest you, but can you go to a friend's house? Kind of let me off the hook. So like,
Yeah.
throughout like my using and abusing and boozing, like I'm getting off the hook consistently with different things. I'm not really paying consequences often.
Yeah.
I did get a DUI when he was in Afghanistan, but.
And that was in Ohio.
Mhm.
So how were you when you were pregnant? Were you able to like abstain just for because you seem like the kind of person that would be able to pull it together when you needed to?
Yeah, I was actually like getting an abortion in my head. That's what my plan was. I went to some place, and they like, well, I had suffered like 4 miscarriages up until this point, so it was an easy decision that I wanted to keep my daughter. I was about 5 weeks, and so yeah, it was easy. I didn't drink or do anything while I was pregnant
because you already had these miscarriages, so you didn't want anything to happen to you. So you're trying to be as like positive as possible about it, like in a good sense. So, but when she's born, does anything change?
Yeah, so I left my husband in New York when I was first pregnant, and I moved back to Ohio, and I was working at Salsa's again. But before, like, I was staying with my sister, and my sister and I weren't really getting along back then like we do, but I was homeless for a couple weeks in my car. Excuse me. And then my boss was like, you can stay in my house on the west side of Dayton. My brother lives there, but he's a truck driver, so that's kind of where I stayed up until around the time I was ready to give birth. My ex-husband moved back to Ohio, and we got back together for a short time.
And the baby was born?
Yeah, and then the baby was born, and then, we made it work for a little minute, like a quick minute. Then we were filing for divorce.
How quick's that minute?
Huh?
How quick is that minute?
October 2012 to February 2013. And we call it quits, and we're filing for divorce again, but then we get back together at the end of the year.
How did you do that?
Do what?
Was it because of your daughter that you tried to make it work again?
Yeah.
But it wasn't working.
Didn't work. Then we got back together.
And why did it work that time? Did you go to therapy or anything? Or
no.
were you not drinking?
I wasn't drinking. Yeah, I stopped drinking when we got back together in the beginning of 2014. That's
So,
when I kind of like started a relationship, like reevaluating my relationship with alcohol.
oh, okay. So that was the first time, like 9 years ago.
Yeah. And cocaine and some the other things I did, but I never did anything consistently enough to where at the time I could view it as a problem. Like now looking back, obviously I know.
Yeah. So I'm trying to catch up. Now you're 2014 and it's like 9 years ago and you decide, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore and I'm not going to use anymore for the first time. But obviously you are like 4 months sober, so things happened. When you guys split up, was it like, is it for the wait, is it for the reason I think it is? Your job?
My job?
Yeah.
What job?
The job that you slept with the manager.
Oh, when I was drinking.
Were you drinking again when that happened?
Yeah. So no, we didn't split up. We were actually together. We got together. Yeah, and it was about 4 months before I was drinking again, and then I got pregnant.
And you weren't sure of whose baby it was until you gave birth.
Right.
And did he know that it could
No.
be somebody else's?
No, he didn't know that. He didn't know that for a year.
For a year, he didn't know?
Right.
It's okay, people, spoiler alerts. She got it was with a Mexican dude. That
Yeah.
baby came out half Mexican.
What?
That baby came out half Mexican.
Yeah.
He didn't notice.
He may have. Like, my dad and I are darker looking. I mean, I don't have brown eyes, and my dad doesn't have brown eyes. My sister does, but I don't know. We were together, and I don't even know if he questioned. I don't think he did. But this also was a person that I have had an affair with as long as almost my marriage.
Oh, so you were hooking up with him when he was in Afghanistan, you moved back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it wasn't like a one time, oh, I was drunk and I made out.
I was drunk, and I shouldn't have been doing that.
Well, you did it anyway.
I did it.
And so when did you officially end your marriage?
2017.
So a little over 5 years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it only took you 5 years to get, not only 5 years. I knew it was, it was not that it was a fast marriage. You guys met and fell in love quickly, which we relate because I was engaged within like 2 months of being with my wife. Yeah. So.
Well, I liked him a lot 5 years ago. I don't know. I was too Krissi for him. So, but yeah, we were the same. When we were together, we were engaged in like 3 months.
You were a little too much Krissi then?
Yeah, I don't know. He said that he didn't have the self-confidence he had to talk to me.
Oh, okay.
And probably I would have not had enough lessons in life. I probably would have messed it up back then. I invited him to my house at 3 a.m. when he got off work, and he's like, no, I think I'm going to go home and go to bed. I'm like, oh, he doesn't like me. But we talked as friends all the time.
You put yourself out there. That's all that really matters.
Yep.
I have so many questions. I'm trying to think of the first one. So, why do you think it's different now with alcohol as opposed to the other times?
Like, why was different?
Like, why do you feel like you're done now?
Oh, because I have so much more creative energy when I'm awake for it. I thrive on routine. It's hard to have a routine when I feel like shit, or I randomly will get a stomach ache. And let's be real, my eating disorder trumps everything. There's a giant ass cricket walking across the I mean, Jiminy Cricket's huge. My eating, Huh.
So you had an eating. When did that start? Because if you were a teenager in the early 2000s, that's like peak of people having eating disorders is like 13, 12, 14 years old.
Yeah. So my eating disorder trumps any issue I'll ever have, but I was probably 8 or 9 or 10. My mom, like, thinness is very much valuable in my family. So I've always like been told when I'm getting a little chunkier or actually like my mom has been like super supportive of my weight now and like changed a lot, but back in the day like it wasn't just my mom, it was like my grandparents and like
It was on
everybody.
TV. It was on TV. I mean,
Yeah,
look at Friends from back in the day. Like, not that they eating it, but like they were all skinny and they made fun of fat people. They made fun of Monica when she was fat. Like, Friends was a very influential show. And if you're making fun of fat people, it's making it acceptable to make fun of fat people. And I got bullied for being fat, just not by like my parents.
right, right, kids are evil.
But didn't you have a big body transformation from like when you didn't you start like the Whole30 and lose a bunch of weight in adulthood?
Yeah, in 2015
2000. What made you want to do that? I mean,
I was fat as hell. And also I like, you know, reevaluated again my relationship with alcohol.
is that the first time you quit was for the Whole30?
No, I quit like back in 2014 before I was pregnant. Yeah, but then I did quit like for a good stretch of time. Yeah, you're right. 2015 into 2016.
And so how do you work your recovery today? Is it through TikTok?
A little bit. Not really though. I found other things like that I enjoy. I built a lot of amazing relationships with my sisters, with my mom, with my husband, my dog, routines. Um, I don't know. I don't ever really. I'm still struggling with nicotine. Alcohol, I never think about. When I think about alcohol, like, oh, if I wanted, because I do love beer. So if I think about wanting a beer, I think about how like awful I'll feel the next day. Like all the bad things about it keep me from ever craving it.
You know, there's positive to actually like Nicorette gum, like to the point where there's like it gives you energy and it helps with people that want to lose weight and it helps in a lot of different ways. There's like scientific fact that nicotine is actually good for you.
Really?
Tobacco is not. You know what I mean? So like vaping is not good for you because it's derived from tobacco. But nicotine itself, as in like a chewable gum, is actually beneficial to you in a bunch of different health ways. And I can't remember them off the top of my head. But I know what I heard, and I'm sticking by that as a lie I tell myself every time I put a piece of Nicorette gum in my mouth. Because there's sometimes when like I'll be chewing the same piece for like an hour and a half while while I work, and I can't smoke while I work, so I just gotta keep on popping gum the whole entire time. Like it's weird for me to chew gum when I'm not working. It's like I can't keep it chewing for too long. Um, Thanks for elaborating more of your story.
Oh, my pleasure. Sorry, I'm all over the place. And like when you mentioned TikTok, like I've kind of gotten like away from like my past a little bit. I don't know if you're on TikTok much, but like, you know, I don't get a lot of views anymore because I'm not talking about my trauma. I'm not, you know, I've kind of like, I feel like hit my end with that because I just, like, if it's informative and I can like relate like healing to my trauma to like challenges that I have, because I still struggle like all the time with, you know, beliefs from my childhood, like trying not to translate them into my adulthood because I know they're just like things in my head that aren't true that were told to me by other people. So like I've steered away from that. I feel like I'm in a different headspace with my
Yeah.
trauma than I was like 2 years or when we met even.
Yeah, no, I'm barely on it. I go on there and I post and then I leave.
Me
You
too.
know, like, so I'm not on it that much anymore. Like, it is what it is. I get the same amount of views. Every single one of my videos gets like 245 views.
Yeah.
Like every single one, they max out at that. I think I hit like 280 on one randomly. But that's just because the guy starts off his story. I once woke up from a blackout missing my toe.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's gonna get some more views. But that's really what happened to him. He woke up missing a toe. Another time he woke up missing half of his face
Oh.
from getting in a fight and getting sliced up when he was blacked out. And he woke up in a bathtub and there was like all of the he has a fake lip on the bottom that they rebuilt from like skin from his neck or some shit. I don't know. But LA, they said to him because he was homeless on Skid Row, and in the hospital they were like, you need all this plastic surgery that's expensive. However, if you let student doctors perform the surgery, it'll be free. So he was like, all right.
Okay.
There's only like 4, he said, hospitals in the country that actually do that, where they have like the students do it. And he's like, I just got lucky that I was in LA. I was like, I think you being in LA is the reason you got half of your face cut off, but here there. The fights you get into on Skid Row. But he was the first person I've had on here that was like living homeless on Skid Row, and they have a huge population, and he's 5 years clean.
5 years.
Yeah, that was my buddy Jared. He had some wild stories. He was almost human trafficked. Like, that's like he woke, or no, it was, human trafficked. I was confused because the girl I had on earlier, she was from Canada. You know, prostitution is legal in Canada.
Yeah.
So she was a sex worker, and she ended up getting charged with trafficking because she was driving her friend to meet people.
Oh.
So since she was driving and taking them, she technically was trafficking them. Even though you go in twos so that you watch each other's backs, but
Right.
technically it's trafficking when you look at the letter of like. So she had to plead guilty to it. But yeah, she was on. That's my new episode actually. So I'm going to be doing the return guests on Saturdays and the new guests on Wednesdays.
Okay.
So,
Exciting.
yours will come out soon, next couple weeks. But thank you again for sitting down with me and being open and honest and telling your story more, because not everybody is comfortable coming on here and telling their story.
My pleasure. I wish I was more organized in my head.
No, it's fine. This is the 4th time with you. I'm used to it by now.
Okay. True.
I'll see you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.